Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Capodanno. I'm an anatomy and physiology teacher here at St. Anthony's High School. We're in Huntington, New York, Long Island, and I'm here with my class today. We're going to do a little bit of a demonstration on the Anatomage Table, which I use in the classroom to help teach my course. If you can see the screen here, we have a cadaver on top, and we have the notes that the students are learning in class, and I'm able to dissect the cadaver to show them the actual parts on the human, while they're also able to see them in the textbook. So I'm going to give a little bit of a demonstration on the cadaver and how the machine works. It's very interesting, and we're able to see various parts of the human body, and this is actually a person that is a person that did pass away that donated their body to science, and the technology that we're able to do here in the classroom is to actually do cadaver dissection while we're lecturing, which makes it kind of unique in the way we teach here. So first what I'm going to do is remove the skin from the body, and when I do that, you'll notice that we're able to go to the muscles. And when we're teaching the notes over here, if I wanted to show a particular muscle, we can actually see it on the human cadaver as well. If we're looking at the quadriceps, the muscles that extend the leg, I'm able to actually write on the program here and point to different muscles that allow me to tell you which muscles they are. So, for example, this one here in their notes is the vastus medialis muscle. I'm able to write the muscle onto the screen, and they can see it on the cadaver. And that's one of the things we're able to do. I can get rid of all of the writing that I did, and if we were talking about other body systems, I'm able to actually go down to other body systems and show them the bones and the nerves, the muscles, as we are studying them as well. And then we can bring the body back to its full form, and if I wanted to cut the body, I can use my finger as a scalpel and draw a line in it and cut the body, and we can actually see the inside of the body here too. We can bring the body back to its original position and restore it, and again cut the body in a different position and show them the body from this perspective as well. So again, as I'm teaching the course, depending on what we're learning about, whatever body system we're learning about, we're able to actually get into the various body parts. And with this, I could even cut through and get rid of the muscles and tissues, or you can cut through the legs and look at the body in different positions as well, going right up to the brain. We can enlarge it, and again, put it back into position, and restore the whole body, and then cut it again as we need to. I can look at any parts of the body I want. I can actually just look at the skeletal system, and it is three-dimensional, so we're able to rotate the body into different positions. Again, bring back the muscles. If I was interested in showing where the muscles attach to the bones, all I have to do is just add the muscles back, and we can, again, study the muscles as we're studying. So. Any questions at all so far, guys? No? Okay. So that is a little bit about is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll just start teaching the notes a little bit. We'll actually do the class as we're scheduled to do it. All right, so guys, again, what we're doing, I think we're somewhere in, did we start this chapter? Did we get to this part of it? Okay, so what we're going to do today is I'm actually going to start to identify the muscles in your notes. So again, these are the notes that I posted. I think I'm going to post chapter 10. I didn't do it, I actually tried doing it this morning, but you'll get chapter 10. It's a little bit more about the physiology of the muscle. But the macroscopic anatomy, we're going to kind of point it out here. All right, this is the deltoid muscle here, the trapezius muscle. Again, not very easy to see it here. And if I take the cadaver and we flip them over, okay, this whole muscle right here is the trapezius muscle. Okay, so it's going to come they'll just call it the trap. So that's the trapezius muscle there. All right, so it's going to be, again, from the A to P. You can't really tell in your notes, but if I go to the P to A, it's this muscle right here. It's a very thin, a very broad muscle up here, and kind of thins out and becomes more narrow. Attaching, originating on the spinous process, and then it's going to come up, and here is, what was the name of this part of the bone here? What bone is this? You can see a little bit of bone right here. Remember what that was? The scapula. And what was that thing on the back of the scapula? The spine of the scapula. So you can actually see part of that trapezius muscle kind of anchoring into that, as well as going up into the base of the occiput here, occipital bone. And this muscle here is going to, again, spend all day holding your head up. And again, the back of your head, its attachment over here is going to help support the back of your occipital bone, which basically means your skull. And that's the reason why you have a lot of pain in that. Or it doesn't hurt all day long, you don't realize it, but if somebody was to start to massage your neck, you know, at any point in time, it would feel good because these muscles are working all day long, holding up your neck. So it's a very large, broad muscle. And again, when you look at it from the A to P here, you're only seeing a tiny little portion of it right there. So it's very small from the A to P, and it really is a muscle you need to look at from the P to A view. So any questions on that muscle? Okay, so the next one is this one here. Okay, the deltoid muscle. The deltoid muscle has 3 bellies to it from the P to A. Okay, you got here. It's kind of broken up into parts. So you have the belly of it there, and then the anterior has some too. But this is the large muscle in the arm up here, and it's going to be used for abduction. Right? So when you go to raise your hand up like this, or if you went to point at something over there, if you're pointing at something behind you, a large part of that action is going to come from these muscles here. So this one here is what we call the posterior deltoid, okay? And this one is the medial deltoid. And it's all one muscle. We're gonna just call it in different parts, and because they have different parts, they have different functions as well. So again, guys, remember what I told you when you're studying this stuff, that when you're studying muscles, the fascicle formations, again, the way these fascicles are moving here, in this direction, and then when they attach to the side over there, this is, I'm going to do that one, make that a different color. But they're going to have different attachments, or different origins, I should say, and their attachment is the same. What was the name of that bump on the humerus, on the side of the humerus? What was it? The deltoid tuberosity. Do you remember that? Remember we looked at the bone, you could barely see it. It was, in fact, if you closed your eyes, you could feel a little bit of a rise in the lateral portion of the humerus. That is the insertion point for this muscle. Not the problem, but the issue is the fascicles of the muscle are coming from different angles. So when it's coming from anterior and they contract, it's going to cause the anterior abduction, right? It's coming, if the fascicles are coming up from the medial deltoid, those are muscles that are going more lateral, and it's going to cause pretty much straight abduction. And then posteriorly, it's going to be extension and abduction of the arm. So again, what I'm saying is a lot of the fascicle formations will help you to understand the actual action of the muscle. So that's important to look at those, right? Another major muscle, mostly you'll see this anteriorly. If we turn this back over. Okay, is the pectoralis muscle. So that is going to be this muscle right here. Okay, so it's a very large muscle right there. Okay, and we'll kind of outline it a bit. And that's one of them, and then you're going to have the other one here. These are the pec muscles. Right? And again, these are going to be very involved if you're ever exercising and you have weights, you're lying on your back, and you're kind of doing one of these types of motions. The ability to bring the humerus medial. A lot of that motion is because of the pectoralis major. Right, so the pec major is superficial muscle, and there's a pec minor, it's a little deeper, but that is the pectoralis muscle right here. Okay, going down a bit, The serratus muscle, I like it on this particular cadaver. And again, this cadaver actually trained for this, right? He actually spent a year working out. And it's difficult to see it on most people, but when you exercise a lot, you'll notice that there's a muscle that is right here. And it's kind of got a sharp little serrated edge to it, and there's part of it right here. Let's get rid of that and spin this around and see a little bit on that side too. You guys see that? Okay, it's a little bit better there, and you see a belly of it. It's kind of going underneath there. But this whole thing is the serratus antigus. Right? And I use the Latin terminology to say these words. Serratus anterior is the same thing, and that's that muscle right there. Okay. It's called serratus because if you have a knife, I'm not sure if they're not the best drawers here, but and the serrated edge on a bread knife, right? That's kind of what it looks like. It has those little serrated edges in it, and so does the serratus ones. And the next one, the biceps brachii, the triceps brachii. Biceps brachii is the muscle from anatomical position that's going to cause flexion of the elbow. Right? So the biceps brachii is this muscle here. And you can see it right here. So that's the biceps. Brachii muscle, and it is the main function. It's the agonist and flexion of the elbow, right? So it's literally when it contracts, it's going to cause flexion of the elbow. So that would be the agonist and flexion. What would be the antagonist? So it's the muscle that does the opposite action. Okay, I really didn't tell you this yet, but if you have a muscle that does this, you better have a muscle that puts it back into anatomical position. Otherwise, you're stuck like this for the rest of your life. Right, so that muscle is going to be back here, and it's going to be called the triceps muscle. The triceps muscle has its insertion on what part of the ulna? What was the part of the ulna that when you extend, the part goes into the, I'm going to kind of give it away if I tell you. No, close, we're in the region. Olecranon something. Olecranon what? The muscle is going to attach to the olecranon process. And then when the tendon pulls, when the triceps muscle extends, the olecranon process is going to disappear into the olecranon fossa. Remember that? And that muscle, that extension, is going to be the triceps muscle. So that's going to be this muscle right here, the triceps brachii. Right, so that's this muscle here. So I'm going to get rid of it. It's on the posterior side of the cadaver, and way. That one, this one. Okay, so that's your triceps brachii muscle right there, and there's the other one over there. So again, left and right triceps brachii. If we flip them over a bit, you can see right here, that is the tendon. That's actually the olecranon process. The problem with muscle is it's not like bone. Bone was really easy just to isolate the bone on the table and stuff like that. You can actually see it, and it's really clear. With the muscles, they intertwine with each other, so it's hard to see them. And that's the reason why when you study things, and you're not going to have to do that here, and even certainly in college, when you're teaching muscle, I'm just telling you so that you know when you take this later on in your life, if you go into healthcare, that's when you're really going to have to know your bones, your landmarks, and know the origins and insertion of a muscle. And then obviously something's telling these muscles what to do. That's called the innervation, the nervous system, and sending information from your brain to the muscle to make it contract. And then every muscle has an action, right? So it's over 600 muscles in the body, so it's a lot of stuff you gotta really learn. But for now, if you could just understand the general superficial muscles, is kind of what we're doing right now, and just kind of understand what they do. You have a biceps that flexes your muscles, you have a triceps that extends your muscles. That's going to really help you to sort of get on your way to just have a good foundation to memorize this stuff later on. even in medical schools, they're not really having you learn all the origins, insertions, and stuff like that. As you specialize going forward, you may have to get more specific. Any questions on those? All right. So again, we'll just go to this side here. This one's kind of interesting. There's a muscle back here, and it's hard to see on this skeleton, on this person here. But there's a muscle right here, and it's right there, okay? And that's called the occipitalis muscle. Okay, and then there's a tendinous sheath that is right here. And that is, we're looking at it from the posterior going to the anterior. This is the anterior view, but if I show you the posterior view, okay, we're looking at this guy right here. The occipitalis muscle is right back in here. It's this kind of red area here, and it kind of attaches to the occipital bone. That's the reason why it's called the occipitalis muscle. And then you have a thin tendinous sheath here. I'm not sure if I told you guys or the other class, but it has a name. What is a thin tendinous sheath that connects two muscle bellies called? It begins with an A. And if I didn't tell you, I'll tell you here in a second. But it's called an aponeurosis, right? We have aponeurosis in different parts of our body. One of them is right here. Basically, again, it's a tendinous sheath that's going to connect two muscles, two bellies of muscles. This one is called the occipitalis muscle. If you take your head and kind of crunch the back of your neck up, you'll feel a contraction in it. You'll actually feel that little tiny muscle contracting. If you kind of raise your eyes like you're surprised at something and your forehead crinkled up on top over here, that's another muscle, and that one is this guy right here, and that's the frontalis muscle, right? Just gonna kind of get rid of this and bring this guy back to A to P. Okay, so again, it's hard to see it on this cadaver here, but the frontalis muscle is right here, located right there, and that would be the frontalis. Okay, and again, this aponeurosis is going to go on top of the frontalis muscle right here, and it's right there on that head. Basically, the two muscle bellies are connected to each other. Right? So they are the occipitalis in the back, the frontalis in the front, aponeurosis between them. And you can kind of, if you try it, you can actually flex one and relax the other. And that is, therefore, you kind of name it as one muscle called the occipital frontalis muscle. So in your nose, the occipital frontalis is this whole muscle here. It goes from front to back. Sometimes they'll call that whole muscle the epicranius muscle, right? So sometimes muscles have different names depending on what book you're reading, but that's that muscle right there, all right? On the lateral view, okay, you have a muscle right here, and that's going to be the temporalis muscle right here, and then you have a part of that muscle called the parietal temporalis muscle, which is not here, but so it's that one right there. So temporalis is literally on the temporal bone. A lot of the muscles are named for where they're located, so the temporalis muscle is right there. Looking at the muscle, now it's kind of outlining the whole thing. Okay, it actually ends right here. And that is part of your jaw cord called the coronoid process. If you remember when we did the mandible, we had the coronoid process. What was the fun, knowing that, and that's the insertion point of the temporalis, what do you think its action is? What do you think the temporalis muscle, when you bite, you could actually, if you're chewing gum, temporalis muscle is moving, right? It's attaching to the coronoid process. What do you think its action is?
To move the jaw.
What is it?
To move the jaw.
To move the jaw, but which way? Right, but which way? If you bite, feel the muscle move. What's your jaw doing when you bite?
Bringing it up.
You're bringing it up. It's when you close your mouth. It's one of the accessory muscles of moving your mouth and closing your mouth. The main muscle that's going to do that is this guy here. This is the largest, the strongest muscle in your face, and you just bite down on the side here. This muscle right here tightens up, That's the masseter muscle. That's the main muscle that's going to close your shoulder. The temporalis is also part of it. It's also going to help out with that. That's this one here. All right, so that is that one there. Going back to our A to B. This muscle here, it's called the Platysma muscle, and it's not here. It's not on this picture here, but if you kind of extend your neck a bit in this tight muscle, it's all down over here. That is the Platysma muscle. Right? It actually attaches under your jaw. When you open your mouth, that platysma will help bring the mandible down. So opening your mouth has to do with a number of muscles. There's pterygoid muscles that are deep in your jaw, but this one here is one of the ones that will open your mouth. So that's called the Platysma muscle. If I get rid of it, okay, so I just got rid of the platysma, okay, and I'm just going to magnify this a bit. Let's rotate it. Okay, so this is unbelievable, actually. This muscle here, the sternocleidomastoid muscle, I just got rid of it, but I'm going to put that back. So that is actually an isolation of the muscle right there. We're going to put them back where it belongs. That muscle there, the sternocleidomastoid muscle, also abbreviated as the SCM, sternocleidomastoid muscle, is this one right here in your notes. It's a bit of a long word. And it is going to go from here to here. It's going to go from the sternum to the clavicle to the mastoid process. So sternum, clavicle, mastoid process. So it's a muscle that's right here. When it contracts, right, it's going to pull in this direction, and your ability to look up and out this way is because of that SCM, right? That's the sternocleidomastoid. That's the one we just pointed out right over here. So that is that muscle right there. It's the SCM, and that's what it does. Its action is to help you kind of look up and down. So if you're looking up in an airplane that's over there, you want up like that. The SCM is going to do that. And we have this back in anatomical position. The rectus abdominis. This is kind of fatty tissue here. Let's see if I can get rid of that. Okay. So before I told you about the aponeurosis on the head. Okay. The rectus abdominis. If you notice over here, when we say somebody has a 6-pack or an 8-pack, that is this group of muscles right here. They come all the way down. Right? And they are going to be separated by a tissue right here, right here, here, and right there. And then their muscle bellies are 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5, 6, 7, and 8. That is your 8-pack. Okay, and it's literally these tissues right here that are separating them, that are causing individual kind of packets of the rectus abdominis that are going to help control the flexion at different points. So if you kind of just bend over a little bit, you'd be contracting pretty much the upper ones. If you went to bend over and take a quarter, well, one of the main flexors is the rectus abdominis muscle, and all 8 of these muscle bellies will kind of be contracting to do that. So if you really work out your body, and you do a lot of sit-ups, you'll have definition in each one of these muscles, and they're going to help with flexion, and you can see them. You can see them on people. So when you say somebody has a 6-pack or an 8-pack, that's what you're talking about. So we'll get rid of those, and then you have these muscles here. Those are the transverse abdominal muscles, and they're really not here, but you can see external obliques. They're deeper than the external obliques. So these here are the external obliques. If you go deep to that, you have internal obliques, and after that you have transverse obliques. So there's 4 levels of muscle tissue that make up the abdominal region. Why don't we have bone here? We have bone here, and bone in the back, but no bone here.
We wouldn't be able to bend.
You can't bend, right? So if you had ribs going all the way down to your hips, you know, we can't bend. That would make us incompatible with our lives as human beings, right? So we can't do that. So what God did for us is gave us the ability to have 4 layers of muscles to help us to protect those internal organs. We still have a reduction of the arm. So again, what I'm saying is a lot of the fascicle formations will help you to understand the actual action of the muscle. So that's important to look at those, right? Another major muscle, mostly you'll see this anteriorly. If you turn this back over. Okay, is the pectoralis muscle. So that is going to be this muscle right here. Okay, so it's a very large muscle right there. Okay, and we'll kind of outline it a bit. And that's one of them, and then you're going to have the other one here. These are the pec muscles, right? And again, these are going to be very involved if you're ever exercising and you have weights and you're lying on your back and kind of doing one of these types of motions. The ability to bring the humerus medial. A lot of that motion is because of the pectoralis major. Right? So the pec major is superficial muscle, and there's a pec minor, it's a little bit deeper, but that is the pectoralis muscle right here. Okay.